It's my Tracy be professional. Tracy, don't accidentally swear because this is going on YouTube. That's what that sound is. But now you recorded it, so spoilers.
All right, well, welcome. Welcome to Wednesday. Today, and I know I did not put a description in the event at all, but we're going to be talking about the Spring 23 release and our favorite things out of it. Well, some of our favorite things out of it. I think everybody should be getting it early February, right? So hopefully you guys have gone through some release notes already and registered for the Release Readiness Live. I think those start this week or next week. Maybe it's next week.
Next week.
But those are always super fun.
Well,
Highly recommend. Tracy and I used to join them together and then see who could get them to say our name the fastest or at all. It was really fun. So they're really great webinars. So let's just
go on top of what you said, Christy, in terms of the release, it's starting to happen not this weekend, but next weekend with the third release cycle happening February 10th. So that's what the time frame we're working at. We are right on the cusp of it, of this Spring 23 rolling out.
All my customers are getting it on February 10th.
Yep.
I feel like I'm always the last cycle, no matter what org I'm in.
Yeah, I do too.
Kind of sad.
Like it's a 3-week cycle. Why am I always week 3? But yeah.
Yeah. Right?
February 10th at the latest.
Okay, so I've consolidated a lot compared to what we usually do in our release parties. But just in terms of reports and analytics, the first one I just wanted to call out was the filter reports by object is now in GA. And I kind of have some feelings about this. Actually, when they first announced this, I was like, oh my God, that's the best feature ever. Like, people will never click on the wrong report type again. But I'm not going to lie, I have not used it yet. Like, I was in the wild. Yeah. I just like know which report types I'm going to click on already, I think. So I feel like as a new user, it might be more useful. But I have not used it, especially the like extra tab where you click to search the fields that are in that report type. I have not actually used that either. Have you?
I have, yeah, and I've been encouraging my end users to do it because we have actual power users in our org, and then we have aspiring power users. And those aspiring power users, God bless, they mean well, but
power users.
they're not quite there yet. And so in the past they've been choosing. I, as an admin, should be retiring some useless report types, but they've been, clicking on what's first. And so being able to teach them and be able to look at, based on the filter that they've decided, the reports that are open to them, and then previewing that has been excellent, especially since my org specifically, we are going through like a field retirement and evolution, like bringing better types of fields in while we retire the old ones. And so we're in that transition where people old or the new and don't know which reports they're in. So it's been great for that purpose.
That makes sense. Such a good use case. Yes, CRMA is my baby. Okay, this next one is actually the gift that I put on the page, the personalized report filters. And I think that this one is going to come in really handy. So it'll only work on like user fields. So this is showing case owner, you can be like created by, probably last modified by, but it allows you to just make the user dynamic. So there's only, if you click the use custom value, there's only one thing in the list here, just this $user. And you can think about this as kind of a substitute for dynamic dashboards. So a lot of my customers have hit their limit of 10 dynamic dashboards already. And so this is kind of just adding that capability into reports.
Would you use this capability? Because I kind of struggled with this capability when you have other kinds of user fields, because I don't know why I just wouldn't look at like my cases.
I was thinking about that earlier too. I think it makes more sense if it's not the owner field.
Okay.
Because for the owner field, yeah, the the dynamic, my cases, my team's cases, whatever, kind of take care of that. Um, but I think for any other user fields, it would probably be pretty handy. Like if you had
Ooh.
a custom assigned to lookup or something, this
And
would,
does
and you
this
were
work on
using.
all objects?
I believe so. Yeah, I didn't see any limitations listed.
Because I can think of the use case for me specifically, and I'm sure others have gone through this, where like things like say you want to like roll out territories, but you haven't. So instead you have on the account level a bunch of ownership, like who's the AE, who's the CSM, who's the CEA, who's the SDR. So I could run an
Yeah,
account report based on one of those fields and then be looking at the user. And that offers that personalization because you can't run my accounts on that kind of
yeah.
report if you're an SDR, you're not the account owner. Ooh, okay, okay, I like
You could
this.
use filter logic with that too, and like where you could put I'm the $sign user in any of those 10 ownership fields or whatever. So there's a
Yeah,
full list. That's a good use case. I like that.
that's cool. Okay, thank you. That helped. I was because I was honestly confused about this part. I was like, why wouldn't you just say mine?
Oh my god. Okay, the next cool one I think is the ability to add text and graphics into normal Salesforce dashboards. And I feel like, and Clara, I love that you called out CRM analytics, but like I feel like we just keep getting closer and closer to where they're just going to say CRM analytics is the Salesforce dashboard and reporting tool. So I think that like I feel like one of the biggest limitations with the Salesforce dashboard is you can't really customize it, right? You can put the chart widgets and table widgets, but you can't add any context in terms of images or text like you would on a CRM analytics dashboard. And so I think this gets us a little bit closer. I really wanted to play with this already. You do have to send an email to Salesforce support to enable this one in your org because I think it's still in beta. But I highly recommend you play with it because I think that it'll be really great just to make Salesforce dashboards more useful for sure.
So what I've been doing is, and forgive me, Christy, for the sin I'm about to admit to, but I forgive it, just forgive it.
Lord.
Okay. I would make a lightning record page and I'd call it something like, sales pipeline. And then within that, I know, within that, I would embed like, I think right now my current lightning record page has like 6 different dashboards, but it's so that shut up.
That has
It's so that I
visibility
can have my
filters applied on
heading.
it.
It's so that I could have my heading for each section. Like this, we're looking at early stage, this dashboard, and this we're looking at late stage, and this we're looking at activities. And like the only way I could put in any details was to keep them as separate dashboards, but put them on one lightning record page so people had some idea of what they were looking at as they were scrolling through. So you're telling me that I can like add
You can get
significant
rid of that.
and explainers.
Yeah,
And when
I
you
think
say
it'll be really good.
graphics, when you say graphics, you mean memes, right?
I mean, I don't know if you can put a GIF because I haven't been able to play with
Okay.
it, but I would assume so. It just says image,
I'd be
and there's lots of
satisfied with
different
image.
image files.
This is
So
a great
I'm
this is a great change.
pretty sure you can put whatever image you want, Tracy. And I don't hate that use case. I think it's actually really smart. And I did something similar for CRM analytics once because I needed users to be able to manipulate fields and then the dashboard would update in real time. So we were kind of doing like some what if analysis.
Yeah.
And I had to do the same thing. I had to create like an analytics record object and then just embedded a bunch of shit with, visibility filters, which was kind of obnoxious, but
Yeah.
it worked for what it
Even
needed
being
to
able
do.
to add like additional text to explain what filter criteria a dashboard is using,
Yeah.
because like a marketing can look at leads in an entirely different way than sales, and then they will butt heads and say, well, your data's wrong, when the reality is that they're actually looking at it slightly different ways, and being able to show that and explain that, I like that. I'm going
Yeah.
to reach out to Salesforce support today.
Do it.
I will sign up for
I don't
beta.
know if you have to wait until February 10th,
That's
but
fine. That's fine. I can be patient.
to get it queued up. The next one, and Clara, you'll like this because it's about CRM analytics. So how many years have I been using CRM Analytics in all of its forms? Like 6, 7 now.
I was going to say
And
almost 8.
there was always this thing where you couldn't edit your queries if you had a binding in it. So like an interaction. So like I'm connecting this query to this query to this query, whatever. And now you can, and it will just make everyone's lives so much easier. So before you had to go into your JSON and edit your code, not in a beautiful interface. And so this will just be great. And then another thing I pulled out of CRM Analytics, and there's more, but I didn't want to make it a CRM Analytics show. You can now add Salesforce reports and dashboards to your CRM Analytics collections. And so if any of you have enabled that new analytics tab that they rolled out, is it 2 releases ago now, maybe 3, where it puts your Salesforce reports and dashboards and CRM Analytics assets all in the same screen. If you're using that, or if you have the collections component on any of your Lightning pages, then you'll be able to see, Salesforce reports and dashboards in those same collections now. And I think those collections just really offer a great folder system for your salespeople. Like my sales leadership loves it because they just have to click on their collection. They have everything in there they need. And this makes it even better that I can add their other Salesforce reports in it too now.
So for my org, I'm currently rolling out CRM Analytics, and rolling it out at a high level. And the issues that I'm coming up against, people looking at something new and saying, well, this isn't the data that's in Salesforce, which is just adorable to say. But this, regardless, I'm thinking that like I put the new dashboard in a collection, and then I'm pulling that report that they trust and love that's in Salesforce, and I'm putting that in there too, so that they can quickly compare and contrast, and then maybe it builds that trust that way.
Yeah, I mean, that could be useful to start. I would try to get them away from comparing the data at all, just because the Salesforce data is real time and the CRM Analytics data is not. And so there's always going to be, something out of sync. But yeah, if that helps them adopt it, then for sure.
Yeah, that's a really cool function.
Yeah, I like it. And that's just like another one of those things where like Salesforce reports and dashboards and CRM Analytics just keep getting like put together. Wouldn't it be amazing if they just get rid of the extra licensing for CRMA and it's just like Salesforce Analytics? That would be...
Oh, that's cute. That's years away.
That'll never happen because they like money, but it would be so amazing. Okay, let's move on. Dynamic forms, which I love, I use all the time, is now on case and lead, which I was so happy about. So originally it was not supposed to be on the case object for like 2 more years or something. Like it was way out there, and they were able to pull it into this release, and it totally saved this project I was doing. There was a requirement that dynamic forms would have been great for, and instead we were having to use like a ton of record types instead, because they needed to do dependency on 3 levels of fields. So like one field needed to have 2 dependencies. You can't do dependency hierarchies like that. And then dynamic forms was in this release, and I was like, yay, win. And we just can't push it to production until February 10th, but who cares?
Do you have, because dynamic forms, they're like, I would almost want to say like deceptively powerful, and that you think it's an easy rollout, but it requires more testing. From what you've rolled out so far and what you've built, do you like have any like recommendations / best practices? And then do you have like a starter scenario that you could suggest for people wanting to bring this into their orgs?
I think that the best scenario is only using one page layout. So I'll give you an example. So one of my customers, they had 5 different case layouts. They were mostly the same, but just like some small differences, right, for different record types. We got rid of all of them, just had one page layout, and then with dynamic forms, you can add the additional ones just with visibility filters for the record types or people who needed to see those additional values. And so just like from a maintenance perspective from your org, I'm creating new fields. I only have to worry about getting it onto one page layout. And then my lightning record page too. I really only have that one. I can put my fields anywhere. I can break them up as much as I can, make them visible at statuses or stages where they're needed, not before or after. And I think it just really simplifies the ongoing maintenance of one thing instead of 5 things. That makes sense?
That's
Yes.
that's kind of an earth-shattering suggestion because I'm thinking of my 7 page layouts for my opportunity object. And I'm trying to think of that transition, and your future state sounds amazing, but the middle part does not sound enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where you have to analyze what's existing. Like, if you're going to minimize page layouts, what is the one that has mostly everything on it? And then you can tweak from that one, you know? Hey, Leela, welcome.
That's really cool. And
So yeah,
one page layout, that
dynamic
is.
forms. So now that it's on account case lead, opportunity, right? I think it's everywhere now because we already had it for custom objects. I think these were the last two, case and lead, right?
Yeah, these were the last two holdouts
in terms of standard objects. So it's really exciting.
In terms of the Fab 5.
Yeah. And I love this example kind of over on the right where you see like, you know, a few fields and then you have a related list there and then more fields. So just being able to like really break up your page flow, how users interact with your data instead of here's all your fields and here's all your related lists. I think it's really great. The second bullet point here, the add save options to account case and lead. This one is actually really great. So when you saved something from a dynamic form before, it didn't have the same options as when you actually click that edit button at the top. Meaning if I updated a shipping address on my account just with the pencil in line in the dynamic form, and I saved that change, it wouldn't like trigger territory rules or something like that. Or on your lead, it wouldn't trigger lead assignment rules or the case assignment rules. You didn't have those extra like checkbox options that are at the bottom of the actual edit form. And now you have those. So I think we're about parity here in terms of normal form versus dynamic forms.
That's awesome.
Which is great. Yeah. Which is really great because even if you're not using a dynamic form, if you just edit like address in line on an account and save, it does not trigger the territory rules, which is super annoying. And then you end up with misaligned territories or just accounts that don't have territories at all, and you have to go clean them up. And all you have to do is like edit, save, but on a bunch of stuff. So
I don't think you're gonna cover this, but I just wanted to add off of, because dynamic forms, but like dynamic related lists, they're now adding the view all button. And I think that's like along the same lines where it was like, it was nice, but it wasn't all the way there. And that's another feature that's coming out in this release.
Are dynamic lists available for activities yet?
Oh, that's so sweet. Nothing that I read was able for activities.
So sad. That was like the first thing I wanted to use it for too, and then it wasn't available.
There's some like improvements that you could almost tweak to make activities better, but
it made me so sad. So I added the forecast pages stuff, one because it's really cool and they never give us new types of lightning pages that you can select from, and so this is really cool. But also I feel like just in the current economy, everybody's focused on forecasting and sales and are we going to make it. And so if you don't have forecasting set up in your org, highly recommend. The trickiest part about it is getting people to actually use it, but once they do, they love it. But these updates that they made allow you to add additional components to your forecasting pages and design them, around your business. So I got a little video here. So you'll see just on the left there's app page, home page. Now there's a forecast page, record page that you can choose from. And there's only one layout, but you could add a custom layout. So you'll see in the green section of the components, you have these 3 forecast components, and those are what you would typically see on the normal forecast page. So you have kind of like your highlights panel, your summary, which has your tree organization of like months or people, and then your opportunity list. Those are the basic components of a forecast. But then you can add, any other custom or standard components that are available to you on the left page to do whatever. I just added a rich text field because I wasn't sure what I wanted to put on my forecast page. But I think this is really great because maybe you would want to add a report chart showing like what's my curve of opportunity close dates or something, or add tabs with maybe top of funnel. Here's all my open leads that I need to be working on. Here's my opportunities. How are these impacting my forecast? So I feel like there's a lot that you could put on here. You could embed a CRM analytics dashboard, of course, and make this extra uber cool. Or even the chatter publisher, so you guys can talk about your forecast, interact, collaborate with your manager on it. So I think that this is a really cool feature for forecasting, but also it's just really cool that they're adding new page types.
Now, I don't know a lot about forecasts, and like I feel like to your point, they came out kind of silently and have been silent ever since. Um,
People
could
don't usually nerd out about forecasting, so
people don't like? Well, there's just so many other tools on the market that people use for forecasting to then like
yeah.
kind of pipe into mostly like an analytics type tool. So my org uses Clary for our forecasting, and then we do like comparing that against Salesforce. Within, like, is forecast its own object? Like, could I run an opportunities and forecast report in Salesforce, or is that something that's not like applicable?
For, forecasting has a bunch of objects associated with it. So
Okay.
forecasting is basically just based on your opportunity amount or your quantity times probability is essentially what it is. And then, you
Hmm.
have your forecast category also listed on your um, opportunities. So you can see this is broken into um, commit, best case, and just pipeline. So it's really driven off of your forecast categories, which are mapped to your opportunity stages, which is mapped to your probability. So it's all kind of tied together. And this just gives you a view of all of that in one place. But in addition to that, people can edit their forecast, or the sales manager can edit their forecast. So on this screen, I can say, yeah, this deal is showing for $100,000, but I really think it's probably going to be more like 90,000. And so I can edit it here in my forecast without editing it on the
Oh,
opportunity, and that'll impact my forecast. And then
interesting.
the sales manager can say, maybe it's not going to close. Maybe it is. I'm going to like drop to 30% or something, whatever. So you have all these roll ups of what do we actually think we're going to close during this time period, which is really helpful. But yeah, it could also be, complex to just walk through all those moving parts and figure out how you guys are going to use it. I do think that, people tend to go with a Clary or another external tool just because that's probably where they're doing their like whole business budgeting. And so all those forecasts roll up to that, whereas this forecast does not. There's probably, plugins, but
So
it's
I
a
guess the
nice.
real question is when is Salesforce when's their next big purchase? And will it be one of these third-party forecasting tools?
Oh my gosh, with all the layoffs they did at Tableau and Slack and MuleSoft, I don't think they're gonna buy anything for a while. That's my opinion.
In 2020.
Yeah. um, Another cool thing about forecasting is since you do use CRM analytics, and at least Clara does, and probably some other people in the sales analytics app, there are forecast dashboards that pull from all this information. So it'll pull from like the quotas that you enter in here. I guess that's another great thing about the forecast is it has a place for you to enter quotas versus I know you and I have created custom quota objects in the past.
Every org, every
Um,
time. Yep.
yeah. So there's a standard quota object that you would
That's nice.
yeah. All right, moving on. I thought that this one was really cool, and this is just a really great tool for your end users, not necessarily for us, except for that it's a quick win. So this is just going to add these buttons at the top of your activity timeline. So instead of clicking like new email and then selecting the contact and then putting in your content, they can just click on the email address. It starts directly to them, or if they're going to log a call, click on the phone number, and it fills out all the information for you. So it's just saving you a couple clicks. I think it looks nice.
Does that automatically pull like or do you have any flexibility in saying which phone fields to pull, which email fields to pull, or does it just look for that data type and pull it in?
I think it probably just looks for the data type on your record and pulls it in, but I'm not sure.
Gotcha.
I haven't tried to play with it yet. But if you look at the top here too, there's like the very first option is add email to to-do list or add call to to-do list. And so that's just like a quick create task, I think, that'll add that type of task so that you're able to follow up on that, which I think is pretty cool. So I just like this.
It's reducing clicks. It's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And I didn't actually click on that, like set my email preferences, but I assume that takes you to the user setup screen where they can set their email settings and whatnot, like set their BCC and their email to Salesforce, that kind of jazz. So it's nice that that's just like
you have no potential duplicates of that lead. Wow, good on you and your dev org.
Yeah, in my org with nothing in it. Okay, I wanted to sing this flow, 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 flow. That's why I put it 4 times, just so I could sing it.
We all felt it.
Thank you. So there's, of course, like 900 flow things that are in this release, and I think we can just assume that that will be the case for the next 100 releases, because flow is the future. But I pulled out a few that I thought were good. So the first one, I think, Tracy, I know will help you and people who build huge flows, is you can now hover over the elements on the canvas and see the description. So first thing, please make sure you're entering descriptions so that you know what things are for. Best practice alert. But then 2, now you can actually see what those are without having to actually open the element and see everything. So I think that that'll be really helpful, especially if you're like a new admin coming into an org, or someone asks you for help on something, you have to go figure out what they're doing before you can, help with anything. I think it'll just help with that.
And it's just purely pulling that description field of the node.
Yes.
That's cool. That's nice.
Yeah. So also maybe, I guess, if your boss usually reviews your flows but doesn't read your descriptions, like watch the Easter eggs you're dropping.
I have to take the swear words out of my descriptions now?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Now that they're more accessible.
Yeah, okay.
And before we talk about converting process builders, I thought this one was great too. I've before there's the lookup elements that you can add, components that you can add, and I have forever struggled with using them for user lookups. So they've added this new individual action, and it actually uses SOSL, which is Salesforce Object Search Language, and it looks at contact, lead, and users to try to find a person for you, and will pull back all of those people. So I thought that was an exciting update. Whoa!
Have you tried to use that yet? That sounds freaking amazing.
I have not played with it yet. I don't really have a use case for it at the moment, but I think that it's really powerful and will be great for something sometime.
I'm just thinking,
Tracy's
like,
gears are spinning.
The brains, the gears are turning. Sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, that would be like, I guess, on the developer side, if I'm searching for a person in my Apex, I'm using SOSL to like look at all email across all these different user objects, person objects, to find people and return all of those results for you. So this is like giving us that intel. Okay, so now the super exciting one, we have the migrate to flow for process builders. Which is really awesome, of course. I know a lot of orgs who definitely have their work cut out for them because they have hundreds of process builders. But you'll see here, just before I start this little video, this migrate to flow screen now has all of your workflow rules and all of your process builders in it, along with the object they're triggered from, and then the status, and then that last column on the right is the resulting flow. So once you do migrate these, it'll populate that column with the flow that those are attached to, so you can keep track of what's been done already. And I'm just going to click play on this. So maybe you guys have all used the workflow rule migrator already. It's basically the same thing with this. Let me pause it here actually. So I thought that this was really great. So this is actually pulling all of the different nodes from your process builder and allows you to check just the ones that you want to migrate to Flow. And I think that this will be really powerful. One, maybe there are still some things that the migration tool doesn't handle, and I don't actually remember off the top of my head what those are, but there are a couple things. So maybe you want to move a process, but there's like one thing in there that's stopping you. You don't want to go edit the process, just don't migrate that one node. That's one use case. But also maybe you're going through these process builders and you realize that some of these nodes you just don't need anymore, and so why migrate them if you don't need them? So you just have to delete them in Flow later. That's silly, and you don't want to edit the process builder. So I think this is really cool, the way they gave us that option to select. So I just selected all of these, of course, just to see what was going to happen, and then the rest looks just like the workflow migrator. So at the top here, you have, this is the flow that it created for you. And then it gives you these help steps here. And remember, I don't know if any of you guys were here when we were talking about the workflow rules ones, but I migrated a bunch of my workflow rules to Flow, but then I never deactivated them. And so I had like two things running for the same thing. So this is just reminding you, deactivate this process and then activate your flow. And then you just have to click that button. It takes you right to the flow. And this is what it created out of that 3 nodes. You can see the decisions that it put, and then the actions after that. So I beg of thee, don't just go migrate everything all willy-nilly. Like, review it first, make sure you actually still need it in your org, and then once you do convert it to a Flow, make sure you go through all of these nodes just to check it, and for the love of God, test it in a sandbox. I wish that actually they would not even allow you to do this stuff in production. Like, the migrate tool should only be in sandboxes. It's obviously super powerful. It does 95% of the work for you. I would go back into this and probably change some of these names, like the decision names, just put them in language that I would typically use and that would be clear for people. But
for the migrator tool, does it allow you to select multiple process builders at one time to convert into one flow, or is that one of the limitations?
It's one at a time.
One at a time. Okay, so I'm selecting only one process builder, and then within that, I can select which nodes in that process builder I'm moving over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but I know our process node builders have like 80 things inside of them. And so if you were selecting more than one at a time and had to select all the nodes, I feel like that would just be overwhelming and you wouldn't remember what you were doing.
And when this migrates, it's always going to migrate into a net new flow?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is another thing to just remember.
That, yeah. Congratulations. You're now out of process builder and you've made 60 before save flows. Good job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up. So yeah, definitely. When we've done a presentation on the migrating to workflow rules before, our number one was document what you have already. Is it still useful for you? Now that you're looking at it again after 7 years, could it be part of another, business logic? Because maybe your 5 process builders could really be one flow. And so just, considering those things before you just start clicking the migrate button is definitely important for your org health and efficiency too. So
good call out. Yeah.
Very powerful, very potentially a lot of people are gonna have a lot of flows in their org for sure. But I think
congratulations.
It's not.
Shut off the workflow rules, shut off the process builders. You had 15 workflow rules, you had 15 process builders, and now somehow you have 80 flows. Don't know how,
Yeah.
but there it is.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
And the last step of the migration process.
Yeah. I do think now with the flow trigger explorer, I mean, it's okay to have, more than one flow per object, of course, and per context before save or after save, and you can order those now. So it's not like a terrible thing, but just in terms of maintenance, if it makes sense to put them together
Yeah, for sure.
for sure. That's the video again. Okay, and I think this is actually the last one I had. Just calling out from Service Cloud. I am kind of an omni-channel nerd, and I don't know if any of you guys read my blog, but I like geek out about Einstein bots
You do a lot. Yeah.
and dorky things. So I was really excited to see that they're launching this omni-channel wallboard. I think it was definitely something that was missing from Service Cloud. Um, this is something that is still in pilot. You have to request to be a part of it. So we can't just start looking at it based on the image that they put in the release note, though. It looks like it's part of the supervisor console. It's just another tab in there potentially. But I know the first time that I rolled out omnichannel for a call center, they were so used to having like a wallboard up on a TV in the big room where all the service agents lived, and they were like, why can't I have that? We threw a dashboard up there, but it wasn't really the same, and the dashboard refresh rate isn't the same. And so it seems like just from this picture, this will be fairly real time because it has seconds on there, which I don't know why you would put if it wasn't like actually calculating these things. So I think this will just be a great view for service managers and service agents both. Another great thing is you can now move supervisor configurations with change sets. And before you had to just recreate them all in production, which was
So
super
fun.
lame. Super lame. And you might be saying, well, it's only one supervisor configuration, so who cares? But no, there are like lots of settings you can change in there. So like one of my customers, we have a few different supervisor configurations, and like each one gets more powerful and allows them to do more actions inside because they wanted, all their agents to be able to be in the supervisor console to see everyone who is online, for instance, but they shouldn't be able to view the agent timeline and stalk what people are working on or change their queues, that type of thing. So it's just nice that those can be moved with chain sets now or packages. Another great thing is they're introducing browser alerts. So I don't know if any of you guys use Omnichannel, but if you're logged into Omnichannel, it routes you work, and in the utility bar at the bottom of the screen, it pops up and says, hey, accept this. But if you're in a different Chrome tab or something and not paying attention, you won't know until you go back. And so these browser alerts will like flash or do a push notification or something at the actual browser level so that oh, I should go do something with that, and you can't ignore it forever until you get a push timeout and then someone else gets it instead. So I think that that'll be really helpful just for efficiency and consistency of work. And then maybe the most exciting thing ever is that supervisors can now manage queues and skills without having admin permissions. So in the supervisor console, there's those buttons, change queue, change skill. But in order to give them power to push those buttons, you had to give them the manage users admin permission, which opened up, the whole setup and configuration screen, and they could, move profiles and edit users, and like, what the hell?
Like such a big oversight. For so
so
long.
dumb. For so long. I can't believe that they're just now doing it, honestly. But I'm glad that it finally happened. It made me really happy. So the managed queues and skills are just now checkboxes inside of the supervisor configuration. And they don't need admin privileges. So, woo! That was so bad. Oh my God. And then just remember there's the Spring 23 release highlights module in Trailhead that covers everything. So I mean, every release has what 500 things in it or something. So I really love these modules because I usually only zero in on the release notes that impact, something in an org that I'm currently working in, and so this really keeps me updated on everything else that's going on, along with the release readiness live workshops. I feel like they usually cover, a spattering of everything that's helpful to everyone. So
Yeah, the admin release readiness and the developer ones actually start this Friday morning. So it
nice.
starts this Friday and goes into next week for the release readiness videos. Um, I'm excited for this one for sure.
I'm excited. Remember for the release readiness one, there's a flow one on its own too. So like they usually cover some flow stuff in the admin and developer ones, but flow has its own where they just talk about flow for an hour. So or
It's the best
45
hour of
minutes,
my
however
life.
long it is. Yeah, it's pretty great. And I also love these webinars because they actually have the product managers on the call and you can actually ask them questions and they do actually answer them. Even if they don't answer them live on air, they get back to you either in the Trailblazer community or Twitter or wherever you asked your question. So it's actually super helpful.
Now that was it for the release readiness top features that we wanted to share. I know I already have one. You've already made fun of me before this call started, so people already know. But if we want to let people off mute or share, release readiness or release items that they are excited for that are coming, I will share mine again just to get it started because Christy will make fun of me mercilessly and then she'll be tired from making
I'm
fun of
just
me.
going to go through and start enabling people.
Okay. I am most excited for, I know this is so simple, but I'm so excited for activity field history tracking. You can track up to 6 fields on the activity. Smile already. She's already gonna make fun of me. But for me and my org, we run metrics off of activities to a very detailed degree, and I think it's exciting. So shove it, Christy. Okay.
I mean, it's great. Whatever. I
Whatever.
don't, I don't care about activities that much. I also think it's weird that they only gave you 6 trackable fields when most other objects have like 11 to 20 or
11 to
something.
20. Yeah. Well, they're trying to rein in my crazy, probably.
I
But
guess so, yeah.
did you also see there's kind of like that guided import wizard on leads and contacts now?
Oh, I did see that.
I thought that was kind of cool because I know that whenever we have trade shows, like our marketing department has access to import. And whenever somebody new comes on the game of telephone and training, sometimes like things aren't properly discussed or they route to the wrong field and then we have to do an export for it and then redo it. So I'm excited for
Yeah.
that capability. I think that'll be helpful.
And have you seen the new Salesforce Easy thing that they've been trying to push? So they're actually calling it Salesforce Easy. And I think it's for new orgs. It's just like a series of like walkthrough menus, kind of like the setup assistance that they have for Service Cloud and stuff, but it's like just supposed to help you get up and running. But I just did a Trailhead module about it. It's really weird.
I have not heard of it,
Yeah.
so I'll look at it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I don't know if it would be useful for an established org, honestly, but I don't know. It's interesting. It's a new thing they're trying to push.
The naming, well, we know that they'll name it
Salesforce
6
Easy.
times from now, so it's fine. But right now, V1, that name, I don't know if that should have
It'll
gone to
be
production.
my easy Salesforce Lightning something. Einstein.
Too wordy. You failed there too. Yours wouldn't have passed.
Does anybody else have
Else?
any release stuff that you're excited about? If you don't want to talk, you can put it in the chat too.
Looks like they just share all the same excitement we do. Oh, of course. Have a good
Bye,
meeting,
Clara.
We can get we do have a meeting next month. We have a meeting every month on the third Wednesday now. We've transitioned from third Thursday to third Wednesdays. But yeah, Chris and I have some plans for some upcoming sessions. But if there's stuff that you guys want to learn about, like even from the release notes that we just shared with you guys, something we can go in depth on. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of incredibly curious about forecasting. and we can, bring an expert in to go over issues like that. Don't be afraid to ask for granular, in-depth reviews during these lunch and learns, because that's what they're here for. We're here to learn what excites us, and that's different for everybody. And I think everybody has something to gain from that. So that's all I'm going to say on that. Christy, if you have anything else.
I really want to do a gear swap sometime, or like a swag swap or something sometime this year. So trying to figure out what that looks like and when we should do it. I was thinking maybe in July for like a Christmas in July thing, and everybody goes home with new swag, and it'll be so exciting. You
I
can
love
tell
it.
I'm really excited about it. But anyways, we're planning lots of stuff for the year. Hopefully we'll do another in-person thing in the next few months here, and maybe try to do that once per quarter. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, thanks for coming.
Great release notes. I appreciate it. Thank you
Hi,
guys. We will
James.
see you
Yeah,
next month.
I was
Thanks,
just gonna
everyone.
say, yeah, just gonna say a quick hello. So yeah, I work for Salesforce, but I
James,
thought I would
hello.
just join this. I'm more on the Tableau side, so I only know Tableau software. I'm just learning Salesforce software, but I found it. I enjoyed your meeting. I was like enjoying you cracking jokes and stuff in the midst of it, and I was like, oh, I better not say I work at Salesforce. You're gonna think I'm like here spying on you guys or something. But no, it was
No,
just
you're not bad.
fun and
We still like you.
insightful. And I'm new to San Diego, so that's why I thought, oh, let me come join here. So I
Oh,
enjoyed
nice.
I enjoyed your meeting. So thank you very much.
Yay.
Oh,
Well, I
thank you,
hope you
James.
keep coming.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Thanks
guys.
all.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.